This is the pre-lab for the Getting Started lab. We're going to click on that link and you can see that there are 3 parts. When we actually open the lab, those 3 parts will appear as 3 tabs going across the page. The exploration section right there, that's all about trying to help you get ready for the lab. Now, in most labs, this exploration section is going to be a review of what you've already learned in class. So don't try to think of it as new material you have to learn. Just think of it as another way that someone else has explained the material, which is always helpful. Now, because this is the lab concerning getting started, what the point of the lab is to teach you a little bit about how to work the website. It's especially going to show you how to open the data tab, which feels weird at first, and some information about your kid and screenshots, things like that. Every lab has that. And then you have the experimental section right there. So every lab has this experimental section. Notice the experimental section has 3 parts. The overview, which just gives the time limit. And by the way, the time limits are very, very broad. I really feel like they may not be exactly correct. Then you've got your materials list. Now, I recommend looking at the materials list a week in advance or just going ahead and buying all your materials at the beginning of the semester. There are some materials that are not included in the kit, and part of the reason is because there are large bulky items that are very cheap, but they're expensive to ship. So for example, a container about the size of milk of distilled water at Publix, if you get it not on sale, is like $1.30. But to ship that much water, I mean, it's going to cost, like $7-8 to ship it. So that's an item that you're supplying on your own. So it's those kinds of things. Bulky items that don't fit properly in that square or rectangle container. So, for example, you just need paper, pencil. You don't really even hardly need a full sheet of paper. Just a scrap is fine. We're going to need your signature to get uploaded in this lab. And then after the materials list, there may be one or there may be multiple some sections, and those are the actual labs. So this only has 1 part. And this is where the actual lab is. Now, before I come back to this, because this is what I really want to review, I want to also point out that every lab also ends with an evaluation. So the evaluation is like a list of these multiple choice questions, and it's supposed to kind of help you review what you've learned in the lab and from the pre-lab. Finally, the final report you're going to be submitting. You can see that's the 3rd one down on the list. It's going to be like when you click submit report, like it's saved onto the Science Interactive site, but you can also, if you needed to, you could download a PDF of that lab if you needed to. So we're going to go back to the experimental section, or the section that's open right here. And you'll notice that you've got an instructor notes. So see that in the corner, it says instructor notes. So all the labs have these. And so here's just some information about the lab. It's worth 10 extra credit points, but it is a required element of the course. You can't do other labs unless you've done this one. If you're confused about anything, you can always go back to the exploration section up there. And again, you can ask on the lab activities discussion board at our eLearn site. You can read through all of these in detail, but those are instructor notes that always start with that. And then some information about some of the steps. Either this is going to be in the format of like something that says like step 1, there are extra notes at the end. Step 4, there are extra notes at the end. If it's a lab like this where it's really short, the notes may actually be at the top. So keep an eye on that. Those notes are there because other students have asked questions, and so we're trying to be as clear as possible. So they're there to help you. So in this lab, just notice that there's going to be a comment we'll come back to for step 1, for step 4, and step 7. Now, what you don't know yet, because we haven't done the actual exploration section, is you're going to be using that data tab in the far right. That's how you record data in this lab. So we're going to go back to the exploration section after I just walk through this really quick. Here's a few key points. We don't want to have to unlock your lab. Once you submit it, it's like locked. We don't want to have to unlock it, send it back to you, have you fix something, and come back. So there are basically 3 things you need to absolutely make sure that you do for this lab and not forget it. The first one is going to be, make sure you actually fill in steps 1 through 3. See, it says data table 1 in bold. So I'm clicking the tab. So do you see where it says data table 1? You're actually tap that blank area. I don't know if you can see, I can tap it, but you'll tap that blank area and you're going to type in your city, your state, time in Fiji. Also, time needs a unit. So is it AM, PM? Put a space between your number and your unit. Also note up here, step 1 had some notes. Include units, AM, PM. You should put a space between them. It'll look like this, 5 o'clock PM. Next thing, step 4. So right here, step 4 has a note up here in table 4 below. You have to format the answer with capital letters and the number subscripted. They've got an example. How do you do that? Here it shows you how to do it. A keyboard's going to pop up, and H2O2, by the way, is going to be actually step 5. It's the formula for that one. But for H2O2, there's an X with a lowercase box, and you'll type the H, and then in the subscript, you'll type a 2, and then H, and then another 2. And so that one is going to be right here, data table 2. So chemical name, water, and so that's going to go in the first spot. And again, you've just got to make sure to subscript. This matters because of a lab that's coming up in the future. And then finally here, photo panels. So you're going to be uploading a lot of photos to the lab. Just make sure you can get it right from the beginning. You're going to upload, and the photo also shows up in the data section. And the comment here, 7, needs to be your signature and date. You have to upload this page not only for our records, but also for credit for the lab. So sometimes people will just will either not upload or type their name or something like that. Don't do that. You want to actually upload your signature. So that will go in photo 1. And it's not showing it as well right here, but when you click the center of it, there'll be a place where it'll let you upload. All right, and text panel. I skipped past the text panel. This is just something that you are going to give some information about yourself. Finally, exercise questions. Each question is usually followed by a series of questions. And stop. Did you make sure you did that stuff? So you'll see the stop section. Hey, reminder, go back, double check you've done this, because honestly, we want you to get a good grade. The labs are a great way to earn a lot of points that are really high for this class. And then you've got those 3 questions right here. Be sure that you read question 3, because this is a confusing point for a lot of people. It looks as though you can jump between the labs on the Science Interactive site, but it doesn't work that way. You can only get to each lab from our eLearn site, so a direct link from there. Last thing is I'm going to go back over to show you about the exploration section. It's got several parts to it, so they aren't long. This is like a 5-minute video. I would recommend reading it, watching it, just to make sure you're 100% okay on working through. They have different kinds of questions, sometimes matching, sometimes multiple choice, sometimes fill in the blank. It just depends, and just want to make sure you're good to go on all that. So I do recommend watching that video. And then this goes through those sections we've already talked through. Here's a little bit about your lab kit. Here's some info about unpacking, because sometimes students' glassware arrives broken. Please check it now, because that'll give them time to ship you replacements. You absolutely can get things replaced, and if something's missing, you can absolutely get it filled. It's just the problem's going to come if you're trying to do it on Sunday night. You can't get it shipped to you on time, so that's why you need to do it now. Make sure you get through that section. This is a little bit about how to print and take screenshots. For the most part, what I have students do is they'll have one device they're actually keying in their data with, and then they'll be using their cell phone for pictures. You can use your cell phone the entire time if you prefer to do it that way. It just kind of is your own preference on how you like to type in a lot of numbers. But if you're using your cell phone, then you should be able to take a picture of something and then immediately go ahead and upload it. You can also use any kind of digital camera though. And then here's a little bit of information about them. I would screenshot this customer service information here, because if something goes wrong, this is your best way to get in touch with them. Or if you have any issues with your kit, definitely go that way. So hopefully this helps you understand this lab. There are often questions in the middle of these, and so you might see something, you know, like here's some questions in there. I'm kind of showing you the answers, but they might actually have questions. You should make sure that you answer the questions as you go along. Questions tend to be about items in bold, not always, but often about things in bold. All right, so good luck, and don't spend too long on this lab. It's not meant to be a time-consuming lab.